Told you.
44 yards away to do it. He got it! He got it! And the Yellow Jackets did it! Upset in hand. They found themselves a pot of gold at the end of their Irish rainbow. Number 10 Florida State goes down in Dublin. Welcome back to college football. Reserve your Saturdays from here on out and just enjoy it.
Foot race to their sideline. Touchdown, Oregon!
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all wages, welcome again to Get Ducked, the podcast from SDP Sports, where we talk Oregon football and college football in general, and maybe some more sports after that. Who knows? But for now, it's football season. Week 0 just started and kicked off the season, and it really kicked off with quite the bang with Georgia Tech taking down number 10 Florida State in a pretty substantial enough upset. It was no Appalachian State beating Michigan in the Big House, but it was still a big loss for Florida State. I think that DJU doesn't take all the blame for that. It looked like, according to the highlights, that Florida State really did just get beat really bad in the trenches. So also, I guess there's this channel called Snaps or something, and it's basically a channel that I saw the video basically of Aaron Murray, a former University of Georgia quarterback, breaking down sort of DJU's game, and as Duck fans were sort of familiar, as his last school was Oregon State. So basically just talking about how it necessarily wasn't all his fault on the loss over in Ireland. But it goes again to what I was talking about last week, and why I went through all the trap games that Oregon could be facing, even though according to the betting lines, Oregon is a 44.5 point favorite on Friday, of which we are 4 days away from kickoff. So that's pretty exciting. But Oregon is number 3 in the country now, and they're now in a tougher conference than the ACC. And that was obviously sort of the big reason why Florida State's upset was a little bit more, how do I say it, detrimental to them, I guess, because, you know, last year they went undefeated. They felt like they got snubbed from the playoff, and there's an argument to be made that maybe they did, despite a Jordan Travis injury. But I think a lot of people also thought that the conference wasn't really that strong in comparison to the conferences that the other teams who made it were in. So this one was kind of a blow to the Florida State ego, if you will, because this was an in-conference game, big stage, and you know, they were supposed to sort of go on a roll this year to sort of prove their point, despite the lawsuits, and I think even trying to get into the SEC this year, and it obviously didn't happen. So, yeah, I mean, again, the predictions, it's always the prediction stuff, man. Like, really, I hate to keep making my episodes about this, but it just keeps happening, and it's still relevant at this point, where Sheamus, the WWE wrestler, obviously because the game was in Ireland, it was giving Ireland some representation with him. He's the only one who guessed it right, and even his correct prediction, is only going to last for about another week or so, basically until this Saturday. until the next game is played. Everyone else picked Florida State. And granted, it's not a bad sort of guess, but again, the best you can do is just say, like, this team's going to win if they do these things. And just, I don't know. Again, the prediction stuff is so lame, honestly. I don't know, maybe not lame, but it's just, again, it's just pointless, because now you just have 3 out of 4 guys who were wrong about it, and it's funny also to watch these guys then go on like Monday or whatever and sit there and sort of justify or play off the fact that they were wrong. And it's just like, we're doing this again. We're redoing the cycle this week. So I'm gonna talk a bunch of crap and say a bunch of stuff and most likely be wrong again, and then I'm just gonna make you forget, and I'll memory hole that next Monday. So but it's a reason why I went through the schedule last week before my camera died, and sort of went through all the potential trap games, because I think it's better to try to predict trap games than it is to predict wins. And not because of the I'm right and wrong thing, but that way you can sorry for the mouth noise. I hate that stuff. But, if you do that, you can sort of avoid, it leaves it open for improvement, and you can avoid the hard losses, because, sometimes I think the upsets are surprising because they make it surprising. And this year too, it's just, there's so much hype on the Ducks. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that one thing I think that should have stayed this whole time from the Chip Kelly era was win the day. And the whole motto and the mantra of that is treat every game like it's the Super Bowl. So don't worry about next week. Don't worry about 5 weeks from now. Don't worry about winning the national championship in August before you've played a snap. And doesn't matter if it's ITT Tech that you're playing. Play them like you're going to win the Super Bowl. And I think a lot of I think that maybe I was sort of maybe wishing with this Generation O stuff, where they were sort of throwing homages to previous generations, that maybe Win the Day will come back. I think that was one of the few things that I think we may have needed to keep, even with all the coaching and eventual culture change that Mario Cristobal had brought about with us. Because I feel like a lot of Duck fans I've seen the past few years have really fallen into that trap of being like, we're going to win the national championship this year, we're going to win this year, we're going to beat up this team, blah, blah, blah. And sort of obviously along what I was talking about last week again. And I think that that's just not the best mindset, obviously. And I think, though, that's also why in that era the Ducks beat up on teams a lot and were competitive and or won or barely lost. Like, they didn't always blow out the good teams or great teams and would sometimes lose, but they stay competitive, though, I think, with that win-the-day mindset. And crispy. I would like to bring that mindset back. I think that would be very helpful. And I think it still would maybe fit into Dan Lanning's philosophy, especially with things, kind of like his, he's sort of a happy warrior type of guy. He's very intense. He's very ambitious. He's very, he wants to win. He's very competitive. And you can see that, but he seems to have a very good rapport with everybody, media included, his players included. He seems to have fun as well. And So I think that that whole win the day attitude I think would fit very well. Yeah. Sorry, I keep looking at my monitor. So, story behind that, a lot of the reasons why I've been having these technical issues and problems with my live stream, but then also the recording process is because the laptop that I bought to replace the my current laptop that I'm using that's like 10, 15 years old, had a sticky key and it wouldn't stop typing. It wouldn't stop typing the letter P, and then the mouse would go crazy. And so every time I had changed the settings on my live stream, on my Streamlabs or whatever, it changed to something else by the time I clicked it without me even realizing it because it was glitching out so hard. So go ahead and like and subscribe and comment on here. So maybe I'll throw up my Venmo just so maybe I can get some money and get some decent technology and replace it. I guess that's the downside of getting refurbished material from Amazon. I'm really tired of that, man. I just wish I had new technology when I can get it. I'm working very hard to be in a place where I have enough money to do something like that, but unfortunately, that is a no-go for now. But like, subscribe, and comment, and be a part of this community and help me grow and help our community grow, and maybe I can buy a decent laptop and we can have more fun, because I want to be dilly-dallying with all the laptops and the technologies and stuff, and we can just get into it and have a good chat. But nonetheless, yeah, I think that there were some obvious problems with the prediction game, and that is a trap I don't want to fall into as a Duck fan this year, and a problem I would like to avoid. And if we lose any games, I would like to have it be against teams like Ohio State and Michigan. So I think it's very important that we unintentionally went through trap games last week, because those are definitely, again, those are things that you need to treat like your Super Bowl and win the day, because then those games against Michigan and Ohio State will mean a lot more, and if you win, it will mean a lot more in that way too. So looking forward though to Saturday, and I'm looking forward to finally kicking off the season and getting into some Duck football. You can only talk about it so much when it's not happening, versus, you know, when the crowd is all there and the games are on, and it's much more fun that way. And you know, it just, last week was the first week of high school football, and unfortunately I got busy at work, and also unfortunately I'm not participating in PPR this year. I'm weirdly still sort of grieving that a little bit, but hopefully in future years I can get back to it. But as football season in high school around here has started, just the vibe has changed, you know. Maybe it's the pumpkin spice in the air, or the spooky decorations coming out, but I think now the football's back and stuff too. I think it's just that late summer, early fall vibes, you know. School's starting, just everything's picking up again, and summer vacation's over, but you know, people are finally coming across something that they're looking forward to, and so now that you know, football season is here, just seems like everyone is sort of amped and hyped, and so it should be fun. This should be a fun season, and of course, there's more. I'm keeping this show short and sweet because unfortunately I'm in a bit of a hurry as I have work tomorrow. Also, please like, share, and subscribe, and help me quit my job. The news business is fun, but not as fun as you would think. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to this, and looking forward to talking the games and seeing how they played. and all those sorts of things. Excuse me. The biggest thing I think, though, with looking at this team is, with any team really, is defense. And of course, it's very cliche and very hack and said every year, but it's because it's a universal truth. It's just like the golden rule: do unto others as you'd like to do to, have done to you. Is defense wins championships, and a lot of times people get, if the offense is good, you sort of get distracted from a defense and whether or not a defense is good or not, or whether your offense can sort of mask a weaker defense. And we saw that last year, definitely for sure, with USC and Caleb Williams. They got away with it for long-ish, but when they came up against a good defense, their team lost. And you can't give up 28 to 35 points a game and expect to win much if your idea is national championship or bust. You have to have a championship level defense. You just do. You still do. You still always have to. And usually, though, the game that sets the tone for that is the first game, even if it's a tune-up game, especially if it's a tune-up game. If it's a tune-up game and you have your starters out there and they gave up 14 to 28 points in that game, it really sets the tone for the rest of the season how your defense is going to be. The defense really has to show up. I don't care if it's Idaho or if it's LSU. You have to have the defense show up. For the morale, for the scheme, for the camaraderie, I guess morale is the same thing, but just for everything that you have planned out for your defense that year, that first game always sets the tone and how it's going to go. Last year, the Ducks had a pretty good defensive game. I think the first game, if I can't remember who it was against, I think it was maybe Portland State. And I think the starters pitched a shutout, and they almost did. I think the second, third stringers gave up one in late in the game. So it was ostensibly a shutout. And I think that set the tone for that year. The defense had a good year, a pretty darn good year. They had some weaknesses maybe in the secondary, but they filled that gap this year in the offseason. The linebackers aren't full of superstars except for maybe Jeff Bassa. He is just incredible natural talent, and his linebacker IQ, I won't say game IQ, but certainly his linebacker IQ has exponentially grown last year, and it seems like this year he's also trying to grow more in that. And so I'm excited to see how he goes. I can sort of relate to a guy like Bassa, only in the sense that, like, I don't think it was a position change for him, but I believe linebacker was somewhat of a new position for him. And, my sophomore, junior year of high school, or my sophomore year of high school, after my growth spurt, I went from being like a shooting guard / small forward in high school to playing a lot of power forward and center. So that was a lot to learn, and that's why, in my sophomore year of high school, I got the most improved award. Not because I was so crappy and I suddenly got good at, even the coach, when it was presented to me, and I don't know, apparently the team had talked about it without me there. It had a lot to do with changing positions. And so Bassa, excuse me, I think I don't know, coming down with something. Bassa is, at least seems to have, it seems to be that kind of concept, at least, is that I don't know if maybe he started playing football later. I know there's some, like, again, Bassa could be one of those guys that's like, I need to do more research on him, a little bit closer research. I've only really seen him play, so I don't really know much of his backstory, but he also could be one of those guys that was just an absolute phenom from the second he stepped on the field, because he's such a natural talent and was like, yeah, I started playing football like junior year in high school. And he's only been there a couple years or whatever. But he's really come into his own as of last year as a linebacker in particular. And this year, I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm excited to see some of the defensive line. They were pretty strong last year. They're probably the strongest sort of position group on the defense last year. You had Jordan Birch, you had Mateo, and a couple more I'm forgetting. Oh my gosh, I need to see. This is why I need to do this full time, because there are a lot of roster names to remember. Can't remember who played on the other side of Jordan Birch now. He was such a stud too. It was two guys, Jordan Birch, and it was Mateo in the middle, and damn it, who was the other guy? I'm gonna look this up right now. Actually, let's see. Oregon Ducks 2023 defensive line. Let's see. Cumulative statistics. Okay, there's a lot of new stuff here. I know I'm this is kind of lame here. Oh, here we go. 2003 defensive line. Okay. Football roster. Yeah, and you had, let's see. Sorry, breathing in there. Let's see. You had, there we go. Let's see. All right, you had Jordan Birch. Brandon Dorless. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that name. He's such a legend. Yeah, so you had Dorless and Birch. You had Mateo basically in the middle. And Justin Jacobs was the other guy. I'm excited to see them kind of gel, and I'm not sure about Breland, Elijah Rushing. I know Harmon and Caldwell are probably going to come in and play too. I don't know about Rushing and Breland as they're the freshmen, so I'm sure they'll get some reps. But the D-line seems to be pretty strong and constantly building. So last year, obviously, they were kind of the strongest group on the defense, with probably the linebackers being a mid to distant second. And the secondary was a bit of a struggle, especially with Jaleel Florence constantly being injured last year, and Dante Manning being sort of inconsistent in play, and Kyrie Jackson, rest in peace, R.I.P. Kyrie, being the most consistent and high-level defensive back last year. But and then the safeties were hit or miss as well. So I think those inconsistencies and those gaps have been filled this year in the secondary. So again, they need to have a good first game too, as much as the D line and the linebackers. In fact, I think honestly, aside from Bassa, the linebackers might be the weak spot this year. And that's not a bad thing either. That just means that it's sort of like Julian Edelman being the weak spot on the Super Bowl winning team in the Patriots. Like, it's still stronger. It could still arguably be stronger than most teams. It's just a weak spot on the team that they're on. So it's not an insult or any shade necessarily thrown at the linebackers, the linebacking core. And I'm sure Bassa will be a great leader for them. And I think it's mostly just youth. I think the linebacking core right now is young, except for Bassa. So I think he's the perfect leader to sort of usher in the new generation of linebackers, of which, if I'm keeping up on my recruiting news, like I said, it moves at such a blistering pace now. We'll be pretty good on the linebackers in the future. So yeah. But all in all, the first game of the season is definitely the tone-setting game. Even if they're tune-up games, you got to play at a high level and sort of set that tone for yourself. Because you don't want to be playing behind the curveball or behind the 8-ball on yourself on the field. Because eventually other teams will take advantage of that. So, yeah. And now, maybe on the same topic of predictions, Dylan Gabriel. And now this is the difference between philosophies and my philosophy and others' philosophy. And I know everyone is high on Gabriel. And I'm willing to be proven wrong. I'm absolutely willing to be proven wrong about Gabriel. I'm still skeptical of him. I'm not sure yet. And again, that will be yet to be proven on the field. But everyone is sort of touting him as a Heisman and a quarterback that will basically be like a Penix that will manage the offense, and not manage in a pejorative, but manage the offense all the way to the national championship and put up numbers, which I've seen some of his stuff at Oklahoma. Yeah, sure. He's plenty capable of that, I think, and he's plenty skilled enough. It's hard because you have that sort of Bo Nix comparison, and I'm not saying that Bo Nix was so amazing he's incomparable. But again, I was wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong and have been wrong about Bo Nix. I'm hoping I was skeptical of Bo Nix too, but considering where he came from and what it kind of was like at Auburn for him, I wasn't sure. I was like, this guy, this guy wasn't doing that great at Auburn, and it's like, and obviously I know that he was trying to sort of transfer out to sort of rebrand himself, and it worked, and he did amazing at Oregon. And Oregon seemed to be an amazing fit for him, and he was pretty darn successful and put up great numbers. And now, he's been named the starter of the Denver Broncos. I don't think he would have been able to do that if he was drafted out of Auburn. And he stayed at Auburn. I think he would have been pretty average numbers-wise at Auburn. And I don't think he would have probably gone very far in the NFL draft in the sense of, he could be one of those guys like, Tom Brady that was behind Drew Bledsoe and then exploded after developing. But now he's coming right off of a successful college, two college years and starting for an NFL team. Now, my philosophy is that even if Bo Nix was doing very well and he's putting up good numbers, I don't think he should be starting this year as a rookie. I've seen it plenty of times, starting from Joey Harrington, that actually technically Achilles Smith too, but throwing a rookie QB to be your franchise guy, the second out of training camp in a struggling organization, I don't think is a very good idea, and it doesn't always succeed. So I think with Bo Nix, they probably should have done the Aaron Rodgers philosophy of just hiding behind sort of backing up a starter. Green Bay always has the luxury, though, of having legendary quarterbacks as starters, and having their rookies sort of develop in the backup position. But even if you don't have a legendary QB anymore at Denver, I think if Bo Nix is your guy, develop him first. Maybe have him play a few games as a rookie to get some game reps outside of the preseason, but definitely develop him on the bench and go from there, I think. But again, I'm totally okay with being wrong. If I'm wrong about these things, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be wrong. And so the same, though, kind of goes for Gabriel. He's a little undersized. His release is it's not snappy. It doesn't seem like it's kind of a long release. Again, I've only seen a few games, and I watched a game where he beat Texas with Oklahoma, so I could be wrong in my analysis, but it seems like his deep ball is pretty okay. I think that because Bo Nix was such a high-value player on the Oregon squad last year, they didn't take very many shots down the field. And I think that's sort of what impressed a lot of pro people in the preseason, was that they saw actually he could throw down the field pretty decently. And Will Stein and the Ducks sort of weren't doing that because they wanted to keep Bo from getting injured. I don't know how Gabriel feels like he's going to be in the pros. Seems like he might be a guy that you kind of just let him go and go all out. So I'm hoping that his deep ball is that good, and he can kind of sling it around. And if he needs to run a lot, he can run. But again, I just when people are hyping him up so hard, I'm a little skeptical of how that could be. I say this with all the hopes that I'm wrong, and he just has a breakout year and crushes everybody and crushes all the records and wins the Heisman and is the sole reason the Ducks finally won their first championship. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm just saying I'm not sold yet. I'm willing to buy in though. I know a lot of people have tried to quell my fears about Dillon Gabriel and say, oh, no, he's pretty legit. He's sort of the real deal. You'll see or whatever. But again, I'm just kind of repeating myself. But I'm just not sure because, yeah, I mean, we've had guys, Mariota, we had Justin Herbert and Bo Nix, guys that had like NFL arms. They have quick releases. They're very snappy. They throw a tight rope of a shot, like intermediate and long balls. And to me, Dillon Gabriel kind of is more of a Vernon Adams type of guy. And he was one of our first QBs out of the transfer portal from Eastern Washington, and he's kind of a similar size. And he's not a lefty, but he was a righty, but he kind of had the same kind of loopy kind of release. You know, it wasn't just quick and snappy. I was a wide receiver, so I know a lot of the wide receiver analysis. I'm not really much of an X and O's guy, except maybe at receiver. Not so much a QB, but that's just what I noticed right off the bat. It was kind of a outfield baseball throw, kind of pull back and then throw. It wasn't just bring it back and bring it forward. Like a lot of these guys have, and with that nice snap of the wrist. I don't know if maybe I'm misconstruing things. I could be wrong. Please leave that in the comments. But I think with fast defenses and NFL caliber defenses that could be present in the Big Ten, and especially the SEC, who you will find yourself probably playing in big games and potentially the national championship game. Timing is everything, and you need to have that kind of quick snappy release. So I'm a little skeptical of that. It seemed like because he's a bit of a gunslinger, he's not as efficient, and I can take in completions. But I think one of the big things that saved the Ducks a lot last year was not very many turnovers. I think Bo Nix, threw maybe 2-3 picks tops all season. As an exceptional percentage. Gabriel seems to sling the ball around and risk throwing picks a little more. That's kind of his style. He doesn't play hero ball, but he plays playmaker ball. So again, I think we're gonna have to need a defense that can recover from more turnovers this year than last year. Potentially. Like I said, I'm more than happy to be wrong. Those are just the concerns I have. He might throw, it's just that he might throw more picks, so might not be as efficient as Bo Nix. I don't know the strategy they're going to have with him, if they're going to let him go and sling it around and risk that, or they're going to kind of do the Bo Nix thing where it's like, we're not going to take a bunch of risks. We're going to be efficient and still somewhat make it down the field. But again, let me know your thoughts on Dillon Gabriel. Tell me why I'm wrong, and I hope you're right and I am wrong. And we go a long way, have a great successful season. We'll find out, though, starting this Saturday. Yeah, so go Ducks, and thank you for watching.